Welcome back and congratulations on taking the next step to mastering wealth building. Have you ever asked yourself what separates the rich from the poor? It really comes down to two things: knowledge and actions. The rich people have the knowledge, they know what it takes to build wealth, and they follow through and take the actions that turn that knowledge into money. If you look at the poor, they either lack the knowledge or they don't follow through with the actions. That's the difference. That's really the only two things that separate the 1% from the rest. Obviously, you look, well, no, their bank account, they have a lot more money. I get that, but we all have to start somewhere. Wherever you are, if you're bottom 10% or bottom 50%, it really doesn't matter. You have to start there, and you have to start living basically the 1% lifestyle that's going to take you up the ladder. When you live that lifestyle, you actually start to, if we all lived it, the money from the 1% that we'd like to just take will slowly start to erode and it'll transfer back to us. We need to build wealth consistently. When we start living like 1%ers and building wealth, it'll actually level out because we'll quit giving away our wealth. When somebody that doesn't have a lot of wealth gets a paycheck, for instance, their wealth goes up. But then they go and spend it and their wealth goes down. Oftentimes where they're spending is at a big business or a store that's going to transfer the wealth from the person that needs it the most to somebody that's living the 1% lifestyle, the wealth builder lifestyle. So that's really the two key distinctions: getting the knowledge, which is what the wealth builder lifestyle will hopefully transfer to you, and then following through with the actions, taking the actions that are going to turn that knowledge into money. And so we're going to support and give you strategies to where taking those actions become easy and habitual behaviors for you. So how do you use the Wealth Evaluator? It's really simple. The printout that you got, print it out and just work front to back. There's video support for certain sections. Others don't have video support. You should really watch the video and read the guide front to back, because the guide has all the specific details that you need. The video is more of an unscripted overview, just kind of give you additional information and a little bit more support. So use both, but follow the guide front to back and just work through it in order. That's it. It's probably gonna be a little bit of work for you to obtain all the documents and the information you need. I guess I say documents, but just records, your credit card statements, home loan information. If you got it, you may need to call your bank. It's gonna be a little bit of work, but be diligent and go through it. The insight that you're gonna get from knowing where you are financially, knowing your actual net worth, the value of all the efforts that you've made in building wealth to date in life, having that information is very, very powerful. And if you're new to wealth building, I would advise, and wealth tracking, I should say, I would advise you to at least go through this process annually, at least once a year. And if you're low on the wealth meter, I guess if you're down and don't have a lot of wealth, it'd actually be a good idea to go through this monthly. You shouldn't have too many things on to go through because you probably don't have a lot of assets. But if you go through this monthly, you can make sure that you're going in the right direction. And even if your net worth goes up $200 a month, if you're starting low, that's a big difference. And just being able to see that can be encouraging and really help you stick to your plan. So I'd advise doing it quite frequently. So with that, let's just get going and move through this. Before we get into all the details of the Wealth Evaluator, I want to make building wealth really simple for you. It comes down to one thing: focus. What you focus on in life is what you tend to get. So if you spend more of your time focusing on building wealth or growing your career income or making more investments or making better investments, if you focus on that, that's what's going to come to you and what you're going to get out of life. And so I think we underestimate the power of our subconscious. Our subconscious really steers us habitually to where we don't have to think about everything, but it does that based on the information that we give it consciously. So our conscious activities are what allow us to steer our ship and our habitual behaviors. So take, for instance, when you were younger, maybe you would brush your teeth and then you would eat breakfast. Then you thought about it and you're like, maybe it'd be better if I ate breakfast, then I brushed my teeth, because that would be better for my oral health. So that was your conscious thoughts. And so you kind of implanted that into your subconscious, and then you started doing it that way for a while, and then that behavior came habitualized. So basically at that point, you turned it over and your subconscious is running the ship now. So your subconscious is giving you the result you want, and you don't have to think about it anymore. Wealth building is the same way. Focus on it, help design the strategies, give your subconscious the information, and all of a sudden your habitual behaviors will match and be in alignment with what a wealth builder would do. And you'll get the results from that. So really that's the big takeaway. Focus on wealth and you'll successfully build wealth. So you're focused on building wealth. So what are some other things we want to keep in mind to really have a fulfilling and good life? One of the key areas is your state of living. We all currently live in one of 4 states. We're either sacrificing, sustaining, growing, or in a state of fulfillment. And ultimately, we want to be in a state of growing or fulfillment, because those are 2 powerful states where you're going to feel confident, you're going to feel good about what you're doing, and they're fulfilling states to live in. A state of sacrificing is obviously not a place that anybody wants to be. If you're in a state of sacrificing, you're likely trying hard to at least get to a point of sustaining. Unfortunately, sustaining oftentimes can be worse than sacrificing because you can stagnate there. You can be comfortable enough that you're bringing money in, you're paying money out, but you're not really thinking about the big picture. You're getting by and making a living. That's not going to be enough when it comes time to retire. So unfortunately, people that live in a state of sustaining can get comfortable enough and they just kind of live their lives and get caught up. And then when it comes time to retire, they're forced to go into a state of sacrifice. That's not a position we want you to get put into. So the wealth builder lifestyle, and what my goal is really, if you're in a state of sustaining, I want to get you out of it, whatever it takes, and at least into a state of growing. If you go no further than a state of growing, your life is going to still be much happier than if you're sustaining or sacrificing. It's very empowering. It really helps build your self-esteem and just really your opinion of how other people look at you when you're in a state of growth. If you're growing investments and you're growing your wealth and paying off your house and doing the right things to grow and move ahead, you're going to be looked upon as successful. If you're just sustaining, people may not hold that against you, but it's just kind of a plateau. It's like where the unsuccessful people hang out. And unfortunately, that's why we have an average net worth at age 65 of less than $200,000. Those are all the people that were sustaining. They weren't the people that were sacrificing. They may have had times of sacrificing, but ultimately that's where the average person is in a state of sustaining. So we want to power you up and get you into growth. And if we have to take you back a step into sacrificing to get some debt paid down or whatever it takes to get you to have enough money freed up to start doing some wealth building strategies and get you into a state of growing, then that's what we got to do. One of the first things we do before you actually move into your millionaire blueprint, we go through a 12-month rebalance. Most people that are picking up this course do not live as wealth builders right now. And you probably have debts and other obligations and income that kind of balances out and probably takes up all your resources. So we're going to go through a 12-month rebalance, which is really a transition from where you are to wealth builder. And we want to do that in a short period of time. Even if we don't get you fully to where you're ultimately the best wealth builder, we want to get you into a state of being a wealth builder. So right now, maybe you're at a plateau or you're falling behind. We're going to sacrifice for a period of time and get you up into growing. Then you can move forward and that growth will grow exponentially. So we're focused on building wealth. We know we need to live in a state of growth or fulfillment. Why are we doing all this? Well, in the end, we really want to pass on a new legacy of wealth, or at least we want to leave behind a new legacy of wealth. Regardless of your past, like for me, I grew up poor. I've already broken that chain, and I'm passing on a new legacy to my children of having a better life and more opportunity. I'm also teaching them how to build wealth at a younger age so that they can get started earlier, giving them more time to amass more wealth. That's the new legacy that I'm passing on to my children. That's the legacy I'll leave behind. It's not the same legacy of my past. And so that's really the goal. I use the $1 million goal because there's a lot of hype about being a millionaire and all that. But the reality is you don't need to reach $1 million to leave behind the best legacy of wealth that you can. Maybe you're starting building wealth later on in life and you're not going to have time to reach that goal. Don't stress about that. The goal is really to do the best that you can. And that's the best legacy that we can leave behind. Next, take this financial status test. What this is going to do is really give you a broad overview of how you're doing in 20 key areas of wealth building. This will give you basically your opinion or your feeling about how you're performing based on where you think you should be. Just go through and answer each of the questions with an answer of between 1 and 10, 10 being you're doing perfect, 1 being you're substantially behind, or maybe you haven't put any effort into something at all. But put in whatever you feel is fair, and then total these all up to your grand total. Divide that grand total in half, and that's your score. Basically, this is the percentage of performance that you're doing. So maybe you're performing at 60% of where you think you should be, or 70%, whatever it is. This will kind of give you a pulse on where you currently are. Then we are going to look to fill in, strengthen up the 3 major weaknesses that you have. These are kind of like if you picture a ship and it's sinking because it's got holes. There's no sense, reorganizing the cabins or cleaning. You need to get those holes plugged. Once you get those holes plugged, you can get the water pumped out, you get the ship floating right. Then you can really work on perfecting it. But there's no sense starting on those perfecting things until you get the major areas fixed. So this will help you zero in on that. Just follow the exercise and put in your little action plan for each of your 3 lowest scores. All right, let's get started with some of the numbers. First, we're going to take a look at your current spending habits. Remember what I said, regardless of how much you earn, you can always outspend your income. And as wealth builders, we want to create a pretty good sized gap between our spending and our income so that we have some money to put towards wealth building strategies. In your book there, you have one example of what it would look like if you took the cost of a cup of coffee each day and just invested it. That $3 can make a huge difference in your financial picture after 30 years. In the end, we have 3 ways that we can deal with money. We can spend it, we can save it, or we can invest it. Those are 3 strategies. So if you look at this example, if you spend it, obviously you're going to have $0. If you save it, you're going to have over $32,000. But if you invest it, you're going to have over $180,000. That's just by taking 3 different approaches to how you handle 1 transaction a day, 1 small $3 transaction. That's how little things can add up to be big. So go ahead and go through and fill out your information, collect all your expenses for the month and put them in this form, and then total them up by the category to see how you come out. It may be helpful if you've got your current bank statement or your credit card statement so that you can actually get dialed in on those little things that you may overlook if you try to do it by memory. But put in your information and see how you come out. Oftentimes when we go through this process, we'll realize that there's little sleeper categories where we spend a lot more money than we think. We don't realize it because it's maybe just $3 a day, but in the end, after a month, it adds up to be a lot. Because that $3 oftentimes can be $5 or even $10, and those charges really start to add up and take away from our ability to grow our wealth. All right, so now that you got your spending data, we want to move on to collecting your income information. And we want to get your income from all sources. So if you have investments that maybe you just get an annual report on about how much money you made, we want to take that and break it down monthly. So you want to look at anything that you might have. If you have rental properties or just your regular job, if you have investments, get all that information and put it into the form. If you have the gross numbers, great. If not, we really just need the net numbers. That's the main one that we're looking for. But it's also nice to see the difference between your gross and net dollars. A lot of people think raising taxes is somehow going to benefit them, but in the end, most tax increases just hurt your ability to make money through investments or other things, because in the end, we all have to pay the taxes. So even if it's a tax that's going on a company, we're buying stuff from that company, so they just pass that tax on to us. So when you see the difference between your gross dollars and your net dollars, which is the difference of how much you get after the government takes the taxes out of your check, sometimes it kind of turns that light on to maybe make you think, well, maybe I pay enough taxes, and you may not be so inclined to push for the next tax increase. But go ahead and find out what your numbers are and get them plugged into your worksheet here, and we'll move on to the next section. All right, so next we're going to look at short-term debt. Short-term debt is the arch enemy of wealth building. The interest rates are too high, and then oftentimes it takes twice as much money invested just to offset the losses you're going to take from a credit card. So go ahead and work through the worksheet and put in all your credit card and other short-term debt information for maybe auto loans or whatever it is you have into the worksheet and total that all up. It's kind of interesting, we get upset at the banks for making these obscene profits, and they make those obscene profits based on our foolishness. It's when we're not living wealth builder lifestyles and we're out spending on credit cards, we're spending the bank's money. There's a consequence to that, and that consequence is the banks are going to get rich and make massive profits. In that one little example there, you'll see that out of a $60 minimum payment on a $3,500 debt, over 75% of that is profit for the bank, and 25% is progress for you in building wealth. So basically, you're building wealth for the bank 3 times faster than for yourself. So the next time you think about swiping that credit card, think about it like this. When you swipe that credit card, you're making the banks rich. So don't get upset at them. Think, hey, next time you swipe that card, that's me contributing to those banks getting wealthy, and take some credit for their success. Or don't swipe that card and put 100% of your money into building wealth for yourself. Hopefully you're not one of the many that can skip this next section, saving and investing. Far too few people in the United States these days are saving and investing adequately to get them to a decent amount of wealth so that they can retire in comfort. Regardless of your income, and actually even more so if your income is low, you need to be saving and investing to make sure you can build that amount of wealth that you need to retire. So regardless of how much you save and invest right now, go ahead and input your information into the worksheet, breaking it down into the 3 categories. There's descriptions in your workbook for each of those: security investments, growth investments, and business investments. If you don't currently invest, don't despair and get hung up on what you were doing before. Just come up with an investment strategy and start investing now, and make sure that you're going to get to that place that's going to give you the comfort and assurance that you can get through into your end years when you retire. There's also 3 questions here that I'd like you to read through and answer. And when you answer them, don't just answer them in your head. Actually go through the process of writing your answers out. That'll help get you much more connected to your answers and to your thoughts. And that can actually help change your actual actions and habits when it comes to how you feel and handle money. So go ahead and complete that now, and then we'll move on to the next section. Financial security cushion. We all have auto insurance and health insurance and other things to protect us against life's curveballs, but what do you have for your wealth? How are you going to protect your assets should you lose your job, or maybe just you can't work for 6 months? How are you going to protect your assets and know that you can get by paying all your bills? The last thing you want to do is be put into a position where maybe you can't make your house payment for a number of months and the bank forecloses, and then all of a sudden you lose all that equity in your house, among all the other disruptions that would come from that. So we want to make sure you have an adequate financial security cushion to get you by for a period of time. So go ahead and work through that worksheet to determine yours. There's an example there that'll show you how to do the formula, and then you may want to work through a couple different variations. If you're a single income family, you may want to look at a partial income loss or a complete income loss. If you're a dual income family, you may want to look at what if one income was lost or if both incomes were lost. Run a couple variations and see how long you could get by and sustain yourself without putting your assets and wealth in jeopardy. All right, so you've worked through a number of the smaller components of building a financial picture. Now we need to look at the big kahuna. This is your net worth. Essentially, this is going to determine what the results are from all the efforts that you've expended trying to build wealth to date. So to do this, we're going to take all your assets, what you currently own, and subtract your liabilities, what you currently owe. So go ahead and use this worksheet and input all your assets. So your home, your car, RVs, furniture, anything that you have that's an asset, you want to find a fair market value and plug it into that left column. So you can go online to get resources for finding out your home value. You can use kellybluebook.com for your automobile values. You can use Craigslist to get RV values and other personal item values. So go ahead and find out fair market values and plug in all your items. And if you have a bunch of little items, just group them all together and put them in the other category. So go ahead and do that now, and then total it up and put your answer there at the bottom of the left-hand column. Then we want to compile all your liabilities. These are what you owe. So any debt that you have, whether it be a home loan, an auto loan, credit cards, student loans, go ahead and plug those all into the right-hand column. Then do the same thing and total them all up at the bottom. Then we're going to take the assets and subtract the liabilities, and that's your net worth. That's the result of all your wealth building that you've done to date. So go ahead and work through that now, and then I'll get back to you and we'll talk about how this looks as far as your retirement progress goes. All right, so how did that go? Were you satisfied or were you surprised by your net worth? Was it more or less than you expected? Oftentimes it can be a real shocker. It's real easy to take on debt without actually knowing how it's going to affect your overall financial picture. So oftentimes we can take on more debt and our assets depreciate quicker than we pay down that debt, and we actually can go upside down. If your net worth was upside down, which unfortunately it is for a lot of people, don't despair. You made a big step here by determining that. At least now you know, and now you can look for methods and strategies of how you can fix that. How can you get back to zero and then moving ahead as fast as you can? If it's upside down, obviously that's probably going to put a little stress on you and be a wake-up call that you need to be doing something different. So that's a good thing. Don't look at it in the negative. But next we want to look at your ideal retirement minimum wealth progress. We want to look at a certain age, you should be moving along this far building wealth. And this is a real simple process. There's a worksheet there, and all these dollar amounts are based on progress, based on if you were living a wealth builder lifestyle, the way that we see it, with the goal of just getting to that $1 million. For some people, obviously, they're going to go way beyond that, but we want the retirement minimums. So everybody should at least be at this level. So just compare your age to the amount of wealth on your net worth and see how you're doing. So there you have it. That's your current financial position. That's your current net worth. So what's next? Well, first of all, let me congratulate you on making it this far. There's a statistic that says only about 12% of people that want something will actually take the actions necessary to get informed to get it. That puts you in the top 12%. And you know as well as I do, if you want something, you actually have to take action to go out and get it. I told you earlier that there's two keys to building wealth. One is the knowledge, two is the action. You've shown the willingness to take the action. We've started to deliver the knowledge, so you're definitely on the path. I heard an interesting statistic the other day about college-educated people earning 20 to 25% more money throughout their lifetime than non-college educated people. And it kind of hit me as odd. I started to think, okay, they're using money to kind of apply towards education. But what would happen if you applied the statistic of what does somebody with a financial education earn in their lifetime compared to somebody without a financial education? Or, more importantly, how much wealth would somebody build that has a wealth building education compared to somebody that doesn't? Those statistics, I think, would be pretty amazing. Unfortunately, you're not likely to find them because the reality is in this country, we don't do a lot to educate people on how to build wealth. And so that's what's unique about the Wealth Builder Lifestyle System. I didn't develop this because there's other products out there and I just wanted to build the best one. This is the only one that I know that will show you in depth how to build wealth to the maximum of your ability based on your personal situation. So I hope that, it's my sincerest hope that you'll actually come out and see us, because I'd love to pass this information on, and there's really no risk to you. If you come out halfway through the event, you say, hey, this isn't for me, I don't believe you're delivering on what you promised, I don't think this can work, you turn in your manual, you'll get your money back. Other than that, I would say come out and get a financial education. You will far exceed how well you'll perform in life if you don't have it. And it really, you're talking about 2 days of effort. There's a little bit of effort before the seminar, you're going to spend a day in the event, and then you're going to have some time afterward assembling your millionaire blueprint. You'll have a total of about 2 days and a nominal amount of money, but your financial education is going to grow like crazy, and you're going to have an action plan for how you're going to deal with your finances and grow your wealth throughout your lifetime. Anyways, I guess that's about all I have to offer. I really hope to see you. If not, please go out and get the best financial education that you can. Whatever resources you use, whatever approach you take, just do the best you can to make sure that you grow wealth. It's not an option these days. Life is getting more expensive, and pretty much nothing happens without some financial persuasion. So you've got to have the money. How you build it is really up to you, but go find out what you need to make sure that you can build the most amount of wealth. I hope to see you there. I'm Dan Hartjoy. Look forward to seeing you.